and no doubt add to the welcome which I will offer. But I'd like to, on behalf of this church, the Gregory Park Baptist Church, welcome all of us who have come to this sanctuary to participate in what we believe is going to be a very significant event and occasion which will have implications for our continuing lives as a community. The Gregory Park Baptist Church is pleased to welcome all who have gathered in the sanctuary, and then the numbers who are joining by way of the YouTube channel of the Gregory Park Baptist Church, those who are joining live online, and no doubt those who will view this broadcast long after we would have ended. For a number of years now, this congregation, along with other congregations in these communities, have been extremely concerned, alarmed, and at times distressed about the social climate. Right. He's announcing this. About the social climate in which we live, work, operate, worship, and make life. Almost everybody in Jamaica is aware of the increasing incidences of violence which afflict our common lives. And our communities, the Gregory Park community and surrounding communities, are themselves included. As a church working through our mission and evangelism ministries, we have sought to offer varied kinds of responses over these many years. And we give God thanks for our flagship ministry, our learning center, which has impacted the lives of hundreds of our residents for these many years, offering to them a second chance at life. And the stories of success are myriad. It is my joy as pastor this afternoon to welcome us all here and to express the hope that through our deliberations, through our listening and sharing in the conversations, all of us would leave from here with a clearer pathway as to the possibilities, not only for this community, but indeed for this island, Jamaica, land we love. In a few moments from now, we will hear more about our panelists, and they will be welcome specially. But mine is a task to welcome our moderator for this afternoon's function, our sister Dorrit Campbell, who needs no introduction to this church, but because there are others of us who would not know her, I would introduce her in this way. Sister Dorrit Campbell has been a Christian and a Christian leader for many years. She presently serves as the acting principal for the Edna Manley College of Visual and Performing Arts. She has had training in the areas of media and journalism and has given leadership in that sector through different agencies. We welcome her to this appointment and assignment, and after I have offered an opening prayer, she will come and lead this session. Let's bow together for prayer. Lord God, throughout the ages of time, you have raised up human beings across generations and continents and various spheres of life to serve as agents and ambassadors of peace and light in this world. And by so doing, using our gifts, our resources, our time, our energies to make our world a better place and a better space. We thank you for the occasion which has brought us here together. And we ask, good God, that through our discussions conducted with humility, openness, and hopefulness, we might be able to understand your call upon our lives, and then to be willing to join hands and hearts in making these communities in which we live more productive and wholesome spaces in which to live. We bless you, God, that you never leave your people unattended, and ask that in special ways you would direct and control and suggest everything that would happen this afternoon. For we ask it all through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
My brothers and sisters, good evening. I want to be a little bit self-serving before I say anything. I was particularly interested in being here this evening for one major reason. As some of you may know, I am the president of the Rotary Club of New Kingston, and as interim principal of the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts, I have decided that my flagship project for this year would be how we use the community theater arts to build the capacity of teachers, students, and parents to manage conflicts in schools, to de-escalate tensions, and to produce positive outcomes. So when I heard that Gregory Park was hosting a town hall meeting, I knew that I wanted to be part of it, because I know that there'll be strategies being shared this evening that would also help to enhance my project. So, Pastor, that's the self-serving agenda. Don't preach about it next Sunday. So my brothers and sisters, I appreciate you coming out in spite of the rain, and permit me to thank the Gregory Park Baptist Church for the God-inspired vision to facilitate this town hall meeting this evening. I don't think it's the first one, but this has been a long time in coming. And it is a testament to the acceptance of the critical role of the church in advancing the social gospel and making its presence visible in its communities in which it serves. Gregory Park Baptist knows that its role is not limited to pulpit preaching and soul saving only, but to community building and improving the quality of life for all. And when we accomplish that, we'll be saving souls. So brothers and sisters, your presence here this evening demonstrates the care and commitment we all share for the future of the Gregory Park community and the surrounding communities. Together, we represent various metaphors of this community, from the security forces, political leadership, education, other faith-based organizations, the media, and concerned residents. We're all here because we recognize that the challenges we face require a unified, united, and yes, God-centered response. And I don't care what anybody wants to say. You do the two, unified and united, and you leave out the God center, you will amount to nothing. So I'd like to think that we all came out this evening because we recognize that Josiah has taken more than enough for the owner to see. And that's an African proverb, and it's the metaphor. Josiah is the metaphor for dissidents who prey on communities. The owner is all law-abiding citizens who are tired, very tired of living under the shadow of violence and want to dig out Josiah and find a compelling reason to change. We're not going to find that change in any one member of our panel this evening. As a matter of fact, I think that we ought to look at the man and the woman in the mirror and recognize that sustainable transformation requires not just a change of systems, not just a change of political party or a change of environment, but a change from within, a change of heart. I'm starting with the man in the mirror and I'm asking him to change his ways. For far too long, many of our residents have lived with the painful reality of feeling unsafe in their own backyards, despite the tireless efforts of the security forces and the dedication of various organizations. We know that many of our neighbors still live with a sense of fear and uncertainty. We are here this evening because we believe that through honest conversation and a commitment to real solutions, we can envision and create a different future, one defined by peace, safety, and opportunities for everyone. So as we dive into this discussion, let us approach it with a spirit of openness and respect. This evening is an opportunity for each of us to listen, to share ideas, and to find a common ground. So let us keep in mind that change will come not just from this first dialogue, but from our collective action after the conversation has started. So together, I believe we can create a safer, kinder, gentler, and more hopeful Gregory Park. So I want to thank you again for your commitment and dedication to making a difference. You're here because you want to make a difference. And it's against this background that I have the pleasure to welcome a distinguished panel of discussants this evening. They are from different sectors of the society. And they may even be from different sides of the political fence and different denominational interests. But they have one critical thing in common. They yearn for a transformation in this community. They are all striving for strategies to build the capacity of residents to manage tensions and conflicts, so they do not escalate into violence. They are all singing from the same hymn sheet and singing the same sankey. Enough is enough. A change must come. So, I'd like to introduce first of all the Honorable Alonda Terrelong. Yeah, you can have him. He is really no stranger to his own constituency, and he needs no introduction in his constituency, always visible in the constituency. Ever present, ever working, he has never come out of the work mode. But he speaks by other authorities this evening, and it's because of that I will tell you a little bit more about him than he is your MP. The Honorable Alonda Terrelong was appointed State Minister or Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade on May 22, 2023. Prior to this, he served as a Minister of State in the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment, and Sport. And prior to that, he served in my ministry as the Minister of State for Education, Youth, and Information. And I can tell you he did an excellent job, and that's where I fell in love with him. He's a graduate of Campion College. And Mr. Mr. studied at the University of West Indies, where he attained his law degree. He was admitted to the Jamaican bar after successfully completing his studies at the Norman Manley Law School. He has a brilliant mind. His commitment to nation building pivoted him into the new role of politics following his victory in the Jamaica general elections of February 2016. He became the Member of Parliament for East Central St. Catherine. He views his role as a means to continue to impact positively the lives of his constituents and play his part in building a better and more prosperous, and could I put progressive in that, Minister? And more progressive Jamaica. Please help me put your hands together and welcome our Minister. Thank you so much for coming, Minister. And then permit me also to introduce to you Pastor Courtney Morrison. Pastor Courtney Morrison is a senior pastor at Fellowship Tabernacle here in Portmore. He's also president for the Portmore Ministers Fraternity. He co-hosts the very popular show on Love 101, NAIL Bus, M-A-L-E Bus. And he's also chairman for the Men of God Against Violence and Abuse Ministry. And that gives him the authority and the right to speak about strategies to curtail violence. Please help me welcome Pastor Morrison. And then, of course, I have Mr. Richard Williams, who is the principal of the Gregory Park Primary School. And prior to his current position, he served as the manager for Early Childhood Development Services with the Early Childhood Commission from 2009 to 2014. During the years 2005 to 2009, he served as Regional and Community Interventions Coordinator with the Early Childhood Commission, where he was the Technical Coordinator for the Parenting and Community Interventions Subcommittees and the Parenting Policy Committee. In 1999 to 2005, he served as classroom teacher at the micro-practicing and junior high school with special education program. He has the experience, the knowledge, and the skills to participate in this panel. Please help me welcome Principal for the Gregory Park Primary School, Mr. Richard Williams. And of course, my namesake, permit me to introduce to you Mr. Michael Calvin Campbell. Mr. Michael Calvin Campbell is the acting senior superintendent of police and divisional commander for the St. Catherine South Division, enlisted in the Jamaica Constabulary Force on February 3, 1992. He was transferred to the St. Catherine South Division on July 25, 2016. He has served in the following capacities: Zone Commander for the Central Village Area, Operations Officer, and now the Divisional Commander, where he oversees 7 police districts, 2 police posts, and he's given the Constabulary Force 32 years and 8 months of service to date, and thank God he's still alive. Please put your hands together and welcome Acting Senior Superintendent of Police and Divisional Commander for the St. Catherine South Division. My brothers and sisters, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Mr. Devon Levy. Mr. Levy has been working with the Child Protection Services and Family Agency since 2018 as a children's officer in places of safety and children's homes. He has had to deal with children who are uncontrollable or in need of care and protection. Outside of the CPFSA, he has been working with families for over 20 years. He's also a minister of religion with a church that works in the downtown community and has extensive experience in the displacement of families. He didn't displace them. He managed to replace them and relocate them when they are displaced. And most of these families would have been displaced because of violence. He's a father of 3 children, and he loves children. That is instances, and they don't have all the answers. And as I said before, our solutions don't lie in them. They are here because they're willing to work with us, work with the community to come up with a community-based solutions. So when you get to that part where you're asking them questions, remember that they are humans, not gods, and they don't have all the answers. They will come to you with what they can share. And you may not like everything, but those are their opinions from their perspective, from their experience, and we welcome what they have to offer. So in the order in which I have introduced them, I am going to be inviting them to come and share their thoughts with you on the topic for 5 minutes now. Later on, I will give them another 3 or 4 to wrap up. And after they have shared, we will open the floor for questions. How does that sound? That sounds good, right? So at this time, I'm going to invite our dear minister to come to the podium and to speak with us for 5 minutes. Put your hands together for him again.
Thank you so much, Madam Moderator. To the distinguished members of the panel, our host pastor and his wife, and of course to you, the residents of Gregory Park and surrounding communities who have joined us here. It is always my pleasure to speak with our community members on important topics such as these, whether it be security concerns, issues of the development of our children, issues of community development, youth empowerment, and so forth. I must say, however, that coming from the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment, and Sport, that I have noted the gender imbalance on the panel, and I do hope that our ladies will get an opportunity to at least ask questions and to speak, because they certainly outnumber the men in the room. So in 2016, I became Member of Parliament for Gregory Park and of course the wider East Central St. Catherine. One of the things I noticed about this constituency in particular is that we have 2 large inner city communities. And growing up as a child in Grand Spend myself, I understand how inner city communities work. But I also understand, even more importantly, how we can change the mindset of individuals, provided they want that mindset to change. There are some persons who want to live in a system, and this is how it works, and so the system must work, etc. And there are some persons who want to get their children educated. There are some persons who want to go to work. There are some persons who they will tell you, by the sweat of their brow, they shall eat bread. You know, but you have a myriad, you have a wide cross-section of how people think within inner city communities, etc. So my focus has always been on education and youth empowerment, as well as sprucing up the community. Because when you spruce up the community, when you fix up the community, for me it also changes the mindset. So one of the things that we've done, if you just look across here by Baptist Road, Pastor Henley knows that they used to call it White Road, and Sister Evans and those of you who are like strong community members will know, this used to be White Road, or just the Marl Road. But we had it paved. We had inside Hamilton Gardens paved. We have communities across there in Watson Grove paved. And a lot of communities, we've seen the work being done to fix up Gregory Park Square, to pave the community roads, and so forth. That is done to beautify the communities with a hope that it would also change the mindset. We've also been working with the security forces, recognizing that safety does not mean anything unless the police and the community can work together. So I've always encouraged members in the community, the police is not your enemy. The police is your friend. The police are there to serve, to protect, to assist. And if we can get a proper community policing network in place, then it helps with everybody's security. Of course, there's a trust factor. Getting person to say, you can trust the police. You can give the police information, the police will be there, that information will be kept confidential. So these are some of the things within the mindset of the community that we also have to work around as well. the question of low unemployment was something that affected these communities. But I can say over the last 8 years, we have had more persons getting jobs. So unemployment in Jamaica for the first time is now at 4.2%, coming from 12 to 14% in 2016. So you've seen a massive drop in the unemployment rate. However, you still have persons who do not wish to get employed for whatever their reason. Whether they figure, well, no, I can't get more money if I chop the line, or if I can't make more money just by hustle a little here, hustle a little there. So those are, again, some of the mindset that we've had to change. Two very good programs that we have, and again, these social intervention programs are designed to reduce crime, reduce criminality, reduce violence. When we take young men and young women from inner city communities and across from Jamaica generally, and we put them onto the HEART programs. So one of the things that this government has done is remove all fees associated with HEART. You can get up to an associate's degree for free going to HEART. So nobody know an excuse again as to why them do have a skill certificate. All right? We have the LIFT program where young persons with 2 to 4 CXCs can get $85,000 per month for free. As in, you're on a skills training program, but the government is paying you to learn. There's also the CARE program where you can get $70,000 per month, and these programs are designed for persons 17 to 29. $70,000 per month, again, by being enrolled in a HEART training program. And Madame Hart is here, and she can tell you more about, listen, there's a program for everybody. And HEART program now is not just about learning how to fold a sheet or learning how to be a bartender. It is also learning communication skills, information skills, technology, robotics, engineering. I mean, there's a HEART program, welding, construction. It is now difficult to get into the HEART College of Construction based on how good the programs are. So the more our people get to that mindset change, have respect for themselves and respect for their communities, get empowered in terms of education. And education don't mean maths and English alone, you know. Education is also the skills empowerment tools that we need to build a modern Jamaica. That's why we have programs like HEART. We have the parenting intervention programs, because I always, and Principal Williams is here, and I recall an incident at Gregory Park Primary where a young man from the community, obviously, he went to school, he was in grade 1, and him beating up everybody and him cursing battles and everything, and Principal Williams called me just to discuss the matter with me. And we both agreed that the correct solution was not to get the young man out of Gregory Park Primary, but was for intervention at the home with the parents, because children live what they learn. And when you say to parents, if you beat them and grow them up with bad word and lick, then it is going to they're going to become either violence producers, or if they are young girls who see the domestic violence, they're going to think that it is acceptable. So when we speak about issues like toxic masculinity, we know as a man must serve because man can't serve. Man have, you have to have strength. However, it doesn't mean that you must beat your partner, beat your children, and verbally abuse them as well. And that is what we're talking about. So if we can address some of those things, then we can see a further dip in the crime and violence in the community. And I must also say, Mr. Campbell is here and the members of the 100-man police station. A big thank you to them. A big thank you to the Minister of National Security and our Prime Minister as well for acceding the call that I've been making for several years to have a police post right there on Cottage Drive, in the vicinity of Gulf and Cottage Drive, because I genuinely believe that increased police presence in Gregory Park will also help to stem the crime and violence here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Mindset change and improving or strengthening the relational space, building that trust between citizens and police by building relationships, employment and employability, and the myriad of training opportunities at HEART for free. And of course, violence begets violence. When we beat up on the children, that's all they learn. So they learn how to beat up on others. And increased police presence in the Gregory Park community. Thank you so very much. And at this time, I'm going to be asking Pastor Morrison to come forward with his 5 minutes. Let me go get my phone so I can start typing. He's a pastor. But follow suit. You see how the politician recognizes that brevity is the soul of wit?
Good afternoon, everyone. Madam Moderator, Host Pastor, Reverend Henlin and his wife, all distinguished panels, thank you for being here. You know, it's once said that there are three persons you must take note of when you invite them to speak. There are politicians, pastors, and the police. We'll try to stick to our 5 minutes as best as we can. So it didn't say principles. So it's good, you know, I'm now the president of the Portmore Ministers Fraternal, and there are some things that we believe in that we have been trying to institute over the years. Let me be a bit self-serving, as Madam Moderator was. I've, for the last 12 years, done a program in Portmore called Left, Wrong, Do Right, where we try to address social ills and have different agencies of government coming in and also offering free to communities their services over the years. Unfortunately, COVID came in and that went on a bit of a break, but we hope to restart. We would have restarted in November this year, but again, one of our main sponsors have fallen out, so it is pushed back to April next year. But the church, I believe, is important in helping with reducing crime and violence. And at this stage of the game, we would have known the famous saying, divine intervention is needed. And without any doubt, it is true that there is truth to it. We believe in families, that just as Minister said, that if we get it right in the families, then our communities will have it right and our nation will have it right. And so parenting must be something that is inculcated in those who are around to ensure that our children grow well. So it is our belief that early childhood education, our preteens, our teenagers, are where we need to start to ensure that the mindset is correct, that as they go out in society, all is well. So with that, the Ministers Fraternal over the years have instituted a number of programs. There are chaplains in the schools that we use to assist with the guidance counselors that are in schools. And so every school in Portmore has, and I'm being very careful, has a chaplain assigned as to revitalizing and re-energizing the chaplaincy program. That's what the Ministers Fraternal is working on currently. We also have what was just launched recently in accordance with street pastors here in Portmore, school pastors. These pastors are there patrolling the schools at least twice per week, and we have launched that in the Cumberland High School so that we can ensure that along with the guidance counselors as well, the students are being monitored. It is important, if you train a child in the way he must grow, when he gets old, he will not. Oh, isn't this a wonderful church? It is clear that that is necessary. We have also instituted what we call zones of spiritual operations. 5 zones for the Portmore community. You know, the Hellshire Zone, Waterford, Gregory Park area, the 100-man division. But we have been trying to ensure over the years, when SSP Phillips was there, and we have to reestablish the link with now acting ACP Campbell, that we have this program connected and doing well. It is our belief as the church that we have to ask ourselves some serious questions. If we have, as a community, have believed that it takes a village to raise a child, what has shifted? Is it that the village has become corrupt? Or is it that the village has stopped raising children? Good, decent children. And I think it's a bit of both. Because when you will have a student coming to school and a teacher reprimands the child, and the parent comes to reprimand the teacher. I have seen an incident in a school which is quite close to me. The parent comes actually with a machete for the teacher. And so I love what I've heard. ACP has instituted the safe schools, and we are looking as ministers fraternal how to dovetail the school pastors program along with the safe school project and ensure that it works. The church believes that the eye for an eye mentality is what helps to create violence. The church believes, and the ministers fraternal believe, that as the scripture states, bless those who curse you. That's easy, don't it? Seriously, that easy? Bless those who curse you, because if you begin to curse those who curse you, you become like those who are cursing. Love those who hate you, because if you begin to hate like how they hate, then you'll become a part of the hating community. God has designed it that way, that we stay pure, that we must recognize that we cannot recompense evil for evil. And so we have a police force that indeed will help to bring justice. They are here to protect and to serve. That we have to forgive. It's not easy to forgive somebody who shoots your brother, is it? Boy, this church silent. I don't like silent church, and I have a minute to go. But the ministers fraternal is working to give the Portmore community a single voice, a voice that will be listened to, that will aid in curbing, and if not, also reducing violence as far as possible to zero. And we commend the security forces. We're hearing of 25% reduction in murders and 12%, and it is welcomed. And I believe they must be commended, and we must put our hands together for the hard work that they have been doing. I agree and believe that the police is our friend. I don't know if everybody will agree with me, but my uncle was an inspector of police. That they are our friend. And the truth is, if things go wrong, who do we go to? So we have to learn to love them and trust them. In spite of every organization may have a few bad apples, do not let that spoil everything. So the ministers fraternal believe it takes a combined effort between parents, police, politicians, principals, cultural teachings, and also the child protection services to work together to help to end violence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pastor. He's an unruly pastor, very disobedient. But thank you so very much, Pastor, for acknowledging the critical role of the church and, of course, divine intervention. We can't do without that. But what I like particularly is the whole notion that strong families build stronger communities, so we need to strengthen the fabric of families. The chaplaincy program, thank God it is working in Portmore. I've been trying very hard in the education ministry to get that going island-wide, and I see that we're making some effort there and some inroads there. The street pastors ministry, happy that that has come back. And I like this parodying of the zones of spiritual operations. And I hope it is not just a parodying of the zones of special operations, but that you see the critical role of putting the spiritual operations within the Zozo and the two working together to produce positive incomes. Thank you so very much. And the soft answer response avoids conflicts and it avoids violence. And the need to love the police and work with the police and trust the police. And in that context, I'm going to invite the police to talk with us.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. To our host, Pastor Enlin, Member of Parliament, Mr. Orlando Taralong, other distinguished members of the panel, ladies and gentlemen who are present here this afternoon. And I was also reminded that there are some members who have joined us on the social media platform. A pleasant afternoon, evening to you all. It is always a good feeling to have this kind of opportunity to interact with our citizens. And I welcome the church to spearhead an initiative like this. One of the mantras of the St. Catherine South Division is to engage, educate, empower, and then we enforce. And we put enforce lastly, because if we have our citizens who are complying with the law, then we don't have to arrest them too much. We will still be enforcing, but not arresting. But don't be intimidated by the presence of the police here. We're not to arrest. We're here to engage. We're here to foster relationship. We're here to build working relationship. I often remind my citizens when I speak with them, policing is a collective effort. We have a responsibility to enforce the law, but as a community, we police together. All right, the focus this afternoon is on what is happening in Gregory Park and its surrounding communities. And we're here to share with you some history, some stats, and some plans moving forward. But nothing can happen, no changes can come until we recognize our respective roles, the importance of building relationship, building sustainable relationship, and working together for a win-win situation. All the persons that are living in sections of Gregory Park, we have some stakeholders who have invested, established business in here, living in here, raising family, doing business. We want the St. Catherine South Division to be a place where you're comfortable to live, do business, raise family. All right? But we cannot achieve this unless we continue to identify the issues and work together. One of the gentlemen that spoke before me talked about the community's responsibility of raising our children, because that's where it all started, from the home into the community. But we recognize that the fabric of society has broken down somewhat. And until we get back to that stage where we start to instilling discipline from the homes, then we will continue to have problems. We know some of the issues, but we have to identify them and talk about them and see how best we can fix them. So you're fully aware that what is happening in Gregory Park, but we are now at a stage where it is not too alarming. All right? We are aware of the history that surrounds Gregory Park as it relates to crime and violence. We have some areas that continue to give us problems. For example, we have a place that is called Gulf. We have Train Line, we have Mexico, we have Bank Gully, Watson Grove, Walker's Avenue, Tenton Lane, sections of Portmore Villa, Christian Penn, Christian Gardens. But what is happening now is that we have been having some issues coming into the third quarter of 2024. In fact, since the beginning of this year, the zone has recorded 16 murders, 32 crimes overall. 16 of those are murders, 8 shootings, 1 robbery, rape, housebreaking, larcenies are among the crimes that have been reported. But when we compare the data for the corresponding period for 2023, we're seeing a decrease, overall decrease. Notwithstanding, we are paying particular attention to what I refer to as the ultimate crime, which is to save the lives of our citizens. So we continue to focus on that as best as we possibly can. 2 of the latest incidents occur along the main road, number 20 to be exact. On the 18th of August, we had 3 persons who were shot, 2 fatal, 1 was shot and injured. And on the 24th of September, another murder occurred at the same place. All right, so since then, we have implemented some initiatives to include the post in the Gregory Park community along Cottage Drive. And we have seen a lull since that. All right? We use this opportunity, however, as I said earlier, to remind our citizens of the importance of working together. And some of what we have achieved over the years is as a result of the sustained partnership that our citizens continue to work with us with. Therefore, We are cognizant of the fact of the kind of challenge that confronts Gregory Park, and we are ready to work with the citizens. These kind of engagement, we welcome them. It is through this kind of medium where we build relationship, build trust, foster good working relationship. We understand the fear of some citizens and the mistrust, but I will hasten to tell you that some of them are just perceptions. I happen to speak to persons in forums like these right across Jamaica. And there are times when persons will say publicly, I don't trust the police. One of the things I do, I try to engage some of those persons individually after discussion like these and say, okay, you don't trust the police. Tell me some of your experience. Why is it you are of that view? And would you believe me, a lot of them never have a personal experience. They will say, it's what I hear people say, it's what I hear on the media. So what we try to do, we try to have these kind of engagement, have these kind of interaction, that you can see that the police is a part of the community. In order for us to build that level of trust, we have to have this continuous relationship and integration. Because you're not going to see me walk into the community and say, oh, that is acting senior superintendent Campbell, he's a divisional commander, and you may be comfortable right there and then to tell me something. But one of the things I say to my citizens when I speak to them, if I am at this level and you have no trust or confidence to speak to me, then I don't deserve to be serving you. We must have that level of trust and confidence that we can relate to our police officers as we work for the benefit of all of us. All right, so we will have some discussion further as we continue this afternoon. But I will also want to share with you that overall, the division has been doing very well. I'll just share some stats with you. For example, we have been experiencing a 12% reduction. Sorry, that is for Gregory Park. I'm giving you national. All right, a 21% reduction in murders as a division, which is 18 less than where we were last year. We also experienced an 18% reduction in shooting. And I just single out murder and shooting because those are the two most serious crimes that we confront. And also to share with you that as a result of your help and our ongoing operational push, we have confiscated 72 firearms in the St. Catherine South Division this year. And this is a reflection of 118% increase when compared to the corresponding period last year. So the effort of the police will continue. And as I said, and we continue to repeat this refrain, we are relying on our citizens to continue to work with us to ensure that we have communities that are safe. All right, as best as we possibly can, we focus on ensuring that we save the lives of our people. Reduce crimes in the community. Regardless of the effort, you will never have a community or a society that is crime-free. But what we're working towards is to ensure that we have it at a tolerable level. All right? We want to control these kind of hoodlums who are creating mayhem in some of our communities and have no regard for human rights and the laws of the land. But we can only achieve this through you. And I will share this with you, ladies and gentlemen. The same power you have to elect your member of parliament, you have similar powers to rid your communities of the criminals. We're not telling you to come out and put your hand up in the middle of the street or in a forum like this and say, officer, I know. No. We create avenues through which you can speak to the police in confidence while remain anonymous. Crime Stop is one of such avenues, 311. The easiest number to remember is 119. Even school children use that from time to time. And then you will have yours truly number and your nearest police station number. So there are avenues through which you can relate to your police, share information. So we'll encourage you to do that as best as possible. All right? And we'll be around to continue the dialogue for the rest of the evening. Thanks for listening.
Thanks very much, Acting Senior Superintendent. New initiatives implemented will work, but they will work only if the citizens are willing to work together and to walk together. I interpret that to mean that we have to take collective responsibility. And out of collective responsibility, we have collective action. I'm heartened to hear that 72 firearms would have been confiscated in one community. But later on, I want to probe further and ask, where do the firearms come from? Against this background, I am going to invite Mr. Devon Levy to take the podium. Oh, he's decided that Mr. Williams must go before him. Go ahead, teacher.
The moderator, I'm going to call her Dr. Campbell, Reverend Endin and his wife, pastor of the Gregory Park Baptist Church, member of parliament for St. Catherine East Central, Honorable Orlando Terrelong, or Superintendent of Police, Sir Campbell, or Representative Mr. Levy from the CPFSA, Pastor Morrison, other specially invited guests, the congregation, members of the congregation, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I must say that in my invitation letter, they gave me 6 to 8 minutes, so I'm here in 5 minutes, so I don't know if I can make it within 5. Let me see.
When I say 5 minutes, I know you went at the 8.
All right. So the privilege has been afforded me this evening to speak with you on the subject of parenting. I use the moment to extend a humongous thank you to the leadership of the Baptist Church to plan and execute this well-needed town hall meeting. I think it's deliberate and timely. From the beginning of time, there were issues with parenting. Cain and Abel had major sibling rivalry, and their parents were not able to settle it peacefully or amicably. We knew how that ended. Down through the ages, we encountered different challenges with parenting. Jesus became missing from his parents. The issue of supervision came up there. When Jesus became older, he chided his disciples for turning away the children who came with the mothers of Salem. Very importantly, in Jamaica, there was a time, an era where we grew up to our terrible saying, children must be seen and not heard. But moderation in all things is good. The song, when mothers of Salem their children brought to Jesus, the stern disciples drove them back and bade them depart. Jesus saw them, hear them fled, and sweetly smiled and kindly said, suffer the little children to come unto me. My hope for our parents and parenting in our homes, community, church, health centers, school, and country is, when I was preparing, I thought about the word parenting. And for me, P, our parents need to be patient, persistent, and participatory. A, active, alert, accountable. R, resilient, reasoned, and real. E, encouraging, engaging, empathetic. We don't have much of that in our society today. Today I was at the barber, and funny, there was a little boy. From I entered, I knew, observing him, I knew that he might be on the spectrum. And when it was time, his father was being trimmed, and when it was time for him to be trimmed, he just started a screaming and a wailing. And his father held him, and the barber was very coarse. You know, as MP said, man for rough and tough. And he was just bullying the child to get his hair cut, and him putting the shear and him just clean off him head. And the father was just there smiling, and I'm just there cringing because me say, the father probably feel cute, and the barber no know say him up on the spectrum and him have special needs, and it's just a fear. And when they were finished, the little boy fell to the ground and he just started rolling and screaming. And I sat in the chair, but But then I just felt undone. When I looked at the little boy, I said, I'm going to have to go over. And when I got up to go, the Bible was telling me, no, don't go. Leave him alone. Him father need to beat it out of him. And the barber took up the cord and got there, and I beat the ground. I tell him, say, no, you need to stop because this is stupidness. And I went and I just rubbed the child on his back and just, told him that he got a trim and it was very uncomfortable. And, but you have to trim. And I took him up and he got up and I brushed him off and we just started talking. And the father was just there watching. And, the barber was just very angry and just stupid. And I felt like it really hurt me. And I'm like, you need to be aware that children are different and you have to learn. And he must say, not do him and he must beat him out, beat it all the time and he must stupid. And him, I'm going to say, you need to shut up because you're ignorant. You need to go and read and you need to know a little bit more about children. I said 10 boys come here and trim and they're okay. But there's this one child who's going to be different. And you need to understand that they are different. And you need to learn tolerance. And it was just awful. And I'm saying, these things happen in our schools too, And it happens in our homes. And the time the children are a little bit active, the first thing parents start to say them rude. And we start to hit them. And we don't understand children. And we need to be a little more empathetic for real and learn how to understand children. And there must be something why children behave the way they behave. And we need to get to that point where we can relate to our children differently. So, N, noble, nurturing, and nice. T, temperate, trustworthy, and truthful. I, integrity, intuition, industrious, and be involved. N, neighborly, and natural. And G, gracious, giving, and God-fearing. I strongly believe that we have to look at how our country is sectionalized. And when I say that, we have the big country, and then we have the counties, and then we have the parishes, and then we have the communities. So we are broken down in a specific way. And we need to use that orderly breakdown of our country to fix the parenting issues one home, one family at a time. The expectant mothers, they go to the health centers. That's where we first meet them before the children are born. So the clinics and the doctors, what are the messages that we are preparing to share there, holistic and wholesome, that speaks to inclusivity? That's the first place before the child is born. So the messages at the clinics and at the pediatrician and at the doctor about parenting and how we are going to deal with our children when they arrive. Those are places that we start. The interaction with the church. When the children are born, they come for christening. How do we engage the parents there and afterwards? Then the children go off to school. What are the messages that we are sharing with our parents when they come to school? And how do we engage our children when they are in school so that they can grow up to be better parents and more effective parents? So the home-based support program, so the early childhood years, I always speak about it. How do we facilitate our parents in the homes when the children are early years, the birth to 3 years before they start formal school? What are the messages that we are presenting to our parents who have young children, babies, infants? How do they cuddle and nurture and talk to the children? How do we get our society to be a place where it's more caring and understanding and we're not vile and vicious and just crass and crude and just deal with just love chaos and war? We need to establish some primary messages that we need our people to know about and consider. Reinforce these messages in all our agencies and institutions and communities and in our homes. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know, but parenting to me is just life. And we have to be at a place where we understand. Some of us will have children by error, by mistake. Some we plan for, But I think as a society, we should put our country at a place where the messages that we want to inculcate and to engender and to see our society blossom and bloom, so that our schools are places of love and nurture and those good things. That's my message.
Thank you very much, Mr. Richards. Teacher, the need to exercise tolerance for a more caring society, respect for the other and for the different, diversity, the importance of the formative years. Everybody has been saying that since evening. Train up the child in the way he or she should go. Thank you so very much. And now I invite Mr. Levy, final panelist, to share with us. Give him a hand.
Okay, so good evening. Good evening. All protocols observed. The Child Protection and Family Services Agency, I guess everybody inside there know about us. A lot of people on the outside say we are the Tekwe Picnic Agency, right? But of course, we are not all that. I guess when I was on the outside, I probably thought so as well. But then when I come on the inside, I realized that the agency's mandate is to offer care and protection to the nation's children. And there are a lot of children who are in our communities who are experiencing abuse, and we are the agency, along with our stakeholders, of course. All the persons up here are our stakeholders, especially the police, right? So can we work together? We have to be offering care and protection for these children. Some of these children are placed in children's home, place of safety, not necessarily what we would want. Because I know you're going to say me hears a lot of things about children's home and a place of safety. Some of it might be true, and some of it is not so true. But the thing is, our children have to be cared for by somebody. Because many times families have neglected their roles and responsibilities. True? Yes, so it ends up that the system that the government has put in place is the Child Protection and Family Services Agency. And we have to be offering care and protection for many children. Violence, we have children who, the end result of violence, they end up with us. Mother and father was murdered. We have one instance, without calling any names, where 4 children came in care. Mother and father was murdered. Violence. And the children have to be cared for. So the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, we are offering a whole lot. And like every other agency in government, you know, the workload is a whole lot. But we are trying to manage. We are trying to manage. One of the things we are going, the direction that the agency is going into, I can say it, we are saying that children needs to really and truly be in familial spaces. They really need to be with family. Because from all that we have observed, our children don't necessarily do well outside of family. Because when they come into an institution, they become what? Institutionalized. So they have to wake up a certain time. They have the chores to do. They have several of them in one space. They have to say, time to go to bed, time to eat, time to this, time to that. There was a young man who went home with a family. And he got up about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and go outside and start sweep up the yard. And them say, what are you doing? Him say, how am I used to? So we are saying alternate care is what we want to see happen. But then sometimes it's difficult. Because some of the parents and family that these children came from, even sometimes after 2, 3, 4, 5 years, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. So when we look right across the spectrum, I'm an institution officer. So I have to relate to the children who are already in the institution. And what we realize is that when we try to get them back in families, it's difficult. Because families are saying, make them stay there till they are 18. And I'm saying, miss, they don't have to be here till 18. Let's work with them. They have a challenge, let's try and fix it. Let's work together, family and CPFSA. Let's work together. If there is intervention that is needed, let's get the intervention so we can, quote unquote, fix our children to where they are supposed to be so that they can stay with family. But the agency, we are trying our best. We are trying our best. We have a foster care program, so the children sometimes they come out of an institution, and we have core of persons who have made themselves available. Maybe I'm talking to even some foster parents inside here who have made themselves available to say, oh, okay, I will foster a child. So that child will come into a family setting. Mother and father, sometimes it's mother alone, right? But they'll come into that setting and they'll be nurtured outside of an institution. All right, we have the adoption program. Let me not say a whole lot about it, but just apply. Apply. We have the family reintegration. Again, we try to get back children after a period of time into the family. Jamaica's problem, and it has been coming here from Evelyn, Jamaica's problem is not crime and violence. Jamaica's problem is parenting. And we are at the back end of it, so we are seeing it. We are seeing it. I remember some years ago when I did my practicum at CPFSA, a tall gentleman came into the office and I was doing an intake. Took the information from him and then he said to me, sir, I have a problem with my son. I said, okay. What's the problem? And he starts to relate the problem. Tall gentleman, he was taller than I was. And then I said to him, how old is your son? Boy, you're 8 years old. I wanted to cover my mouth and laugh because I'm saying, hey, you're over 6 foot tall, 8 years old, and you can't manage him already? What happened to when he's 10 and 12? He put you out of the house. When I start to share that with him to say, hey, you need to parent, you are the parent, he never came back for the second session. So I just imagine. But I'm saying, the agency, we are doing a whole lot. We need support, right? And we ask you to pray for us as we continue to serve the nation's children who are in need of care and protection. God bless you.
Thank you very much, panelists. Mr. Levy. Mr. Levy thinks that our problem is really not the crime and violence. That's the manifestation of a deeper root cause, which is lack of parenting. It doesn't come with a manual, though. And so, yeah, I guess we have to start exploring how we are going to be helping our parents, particularly younger parents, to be able to parent as you see. Thanks for sharing some of the programs that you have. I know that the adoption program is really a very painful one. And perhaps you all need to look at how you can make it less painful for persons who desire to take a child in their family. And of course, again, we hear the resounding statement that we've been hearing all evening, the need for all institutions, all peoples of this country to work together. Our minister has to leave for another event in Manchester, so I'm going to give him an opportunity to answer questions before he leaves. So if you have any questions for the minister in particular, then I suggest that you start moving towards the mic stands right here in this corridor. And if you are shy and you don't want to stand at the mic to ask your questions, there's a questions and suggestions box going around. You can hold it up again so they can see it. You can write your questions, your comments, and your suggestions in those boxes, and then they'll take them up to me, and there are persons here who will help us to read the questions. But while you are doing that, Minister, there's one particular question that I would like to pose at you. I said it jokingly, but I was serious about this. The zones of special operations, they're working. But for some reason, the church has decided that it will parallel that with zones of spiritual operations. I have something in mind here that they ought not to be paralleling it, but they should find a way to be working with the zones of special operation and offer that pastoral care within those zones. What are your thoughts on that?
Mike? Oh, yes. Thank you, Madam Moderator. You know, Jamaica has a long history of church and state working together for the benefit of our residents. And we can always agree that once the church is involved in ensuring that the sort of, what you call them, values, that sort of value system that is in place, then certainly we will have a more caring society. The zones of special operation really was a novel idea as to how to get the sort of community policing in place whilst also providing for social intervention. And that was the added plus that the government recognized, that if we can go into these zones, and I mean largely within our inner city communities, or if we call it our developing communities, and we can provide these relevant social services, see how many persons are not on PATH programs, how can we get them in PATH? See how many unattached youth there are, you know, and how we can empower our young people. And that is where you have the, for example, the Social Development Commission, HEART, and the National Parenting Support, and all of these agencies are working. And if we get the church involved as well, you know, we can have again that sort of more spiritual approach to national building. So as a government, we've always prided ourselves on having the church listed on several boards, if not all the boards. You know, I mean, we have all these, you know, even when we work together, the Ministry of Education and also the Ministry of Culture, all our consultations involving the church. As a country also, when we start, even this evening, when we started our discussions in terms of community safety and so forth, we started with the prayer. You know, and again, very, very instrumental. When our children are born, Principal Williams mentioned the whole question of taking them to church to be christened. So the church continues to play an important role from birth until the end of our days. And I do believe it will make a difference, because oftentimes, you know, oftentimes when you speak to persons, they tell you that, well, they never understood the difference, that this was wrong or that was right and so forth. And even as adults as well. But again, very, very instrumental. And also to get our children to go to church. You know, oftentimes, Pastor Henlin can tell you, sometimes we're at church, you want to see more young people coming to church, you know. But that social intervention, in particular, the heart aspect of it, again, I have to say, wherever I travel to represent Jamaica, when I speak to them about our youth intervention programs in Jamaica, that sort of social intervention, education, skills training, empowerment, the rest of the world looks to Jamaica, looks to HEART as a model institution. How it is that we can empower young persons, give them a stipend, give them a salary at the same time whilst focusing on skills training. It is that skills training that has seen a reduction in crime and violence in Jamaica by the officer indicated by some 21%, even within this zone, as well as seeing more Jamaicans employed with a low employment rate of 4.2%, because we are giving our youth the skills training they need for the jobs of today and the jobs for tomorrow as well. So again, we support the sort of social intervention that is holistic in that it sees all arms of society in place, including the church.
Thank you, Minister. I think Pastor wants to weigh in on that.
Yes.
I want to get one more question in for the Minister, so weigh in quickly, Pastor, and then we come back.
Just as was stated, though, the zones of spiritual operations are supposed to be acting in accordance with the zones of special operations. What we saw was even, it came out, we came out of what we saw was happening in Waterford at a period, and so we were offering to the police that special numbers with zone leaders so that they could call that if guidance and counseling was needed. So that's exactly what it's about.
Excellent. Very, very good. I see. Is it on the same point here? Yes. Go ahead. And may I ask you to identify yourself, say who you are, so we can know you when you speak. Could you pull the mic down a little bit for her? Yes. You have to turn it on for her as well.
I said I like everything that is being said, kings and queens of Africa. I feel disappointed because a lot of parents are not here. That is one. And two, how do we look at our children? When I look at you, I see me. Do you see me when you see me? Right? You are my mirror. We are all mirrors. And I'm going to sit down soon. Now, our children are the light of the world, so are you. Do they know it? We have to let them know who they are. Our children don't know who they are. They call themselves dog. And one day I look and I went, wait. He said, when you look for grandma? He said, 4 foot. You know, he couldn't understand why I was looking for 4 foot under him. He's not a dog. So we have to first let the children know who them be. You understand? And don't talk bad things to people and them pick me. Say nice things to them and bring them up. You understand? Don't look at people pick me and call them ugly and black. No, no, no. They're all kings and queens. And furthermore, we start the garden of Eden. And I'm so sorry for the teachers. Because we have TV. And all this kind of gadgets with all kind of evil. And we attack about parents. Why are we attacking the parents? The problem is what we have in our house. And I try to get out every time I want to mash it up. Because the television and grade 4 now, going back on tablet. What the difference between? We need them things there out. We need the people who bring them in and out. We need everybody like that so we can go back to stick. Because when we write translate and wipe it off, we could have passed exam high. Now them have book and all kind of things, and guess what? Them have failed them exam. Them food bad, everything bad. We need to go back to the things that we used to. You understand? Me like red fruit, okay, tell me something. Aki tell me something. Halal. But when they spread from above, what happened? A poison, we pick them. And we need to know that. Have you seen the sprays that are coming down? Even in our market. Huh? Now let me say to you. Holy people. Wonderful black, wonderful lights of the world. Salt of the give taste. I don't want my child to see a police and the first thing him see a gun. No. My police in my days, I used to carry a peer upon my head to give them. And that's the kind of policing we want. You understand? Police must not feel like him bigger than no. My grandson go see the police and tell me the police are talking to him eye. And the next thing come home, him say friend give him them buy 3 guns. God forbid.
Excellent suggestion there, ma'am. Excellent suggestion for us to go back to establishing our Caribbean identity and the students and the children understanding who they are and how precious they are. Imaging is also very important, is what you're saying, and how the police should approach not brandishing guns, etc. Thank you so very much. We will have to move on to somebody else.
Thank you for the evening, but
I'll give you another opportunity to come back to the mic. All right? Okay, do we have another question? Yes, give her a hand for those suggestions.
And Madam Moderator, while we get ready for the next question, just to add what she says, those of you who know me know that over the years, I have always referred to our young Jamaicans as our young kings and our young queens.
Yes.
And for me, it is important because we still live in a society where black skin is not truly valued. We still live in a society where a little girl in 2022 believes that she's ugly because she black and her hair picky.
Yeah.
You know, and this is a part of the value system that we must change in our society, where we get rid of the chains, the mental shackles that still keep us. Some of us, you know, I'll give an example. There are black Jamaicans who believe that only the white man can have 28 bank accounts. And we have to stop that nonsense. It is time the black man values himself and his worth and understand that I can have multiple businesses as well. I can have 28 bank accounts. I can have 10 businesses. I can have big house on the hill as well. It is not just the white man or the big top on RSM who can have these things. You know, so when we speak life into our young black brothers and sisters, whether you come from Spanish Town or Grandspan or Gregory Park. When you know that you're a king or a queen, then it tells you that you can succeed, you can achieve, you can become whatever it is that you dream of. You know, and those are some of the value systems that we must. But if we speak down to them, and you're good for nothing, and you're workless, and you're coming like, you know, the usual, the rhetoric, you're workless, pooper, you're what's it, and mother, and so forth, then we are speaking death upon our children. Low self-esteem, low worth, low value. You know, so I will take that point, because as I said, it is something I firmly believe in, empowering the next generation as young kings and young queens.
Yes, okay. And this whole business about, what a nice black boy, what a nice black girl. As if to say, oh, just to, you know, didn't think a black girl could be so sweet. Nonsense. Okay, so we have somebody else at the microphone there. Yes, ma'am, we understand, but we have to give others an opportunity. We'll come back to you. Could you turn the mic on for her, please? Come to the one at the front here.
Good evening, my name is Sharon Heslop Brown. I'm a member of Christian Meadows community. And I noted with concern the highlights that our Member of Parliament gave for the development of the community. And it was basically repairing roads and beautification programs. He was creating a better aesthetic for the community and also fixing roads. But I want to find out from him, are there any other developmental plans? And I think there are myriad of plans that we should move from in this era to develop a community to ensure that there is sustainable employment for young people and also to create renewable energies within communities like these. And we can use different communities to create and develop prototypes that can be replicated in other communities. So what are your development plans? Because for me, those are very limited.
Well, he did highlight a whole slew of social programs, but I let him speak for himself.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Again, remember that we can't speak of everything in an opening session. All right, so thank you for your question. When we speak about Portmore, the larger development plans for Portmore is to make Portmore a parish. That was a part of the 2020 manifesto of the Jamaica Labour Party, and it remains a commitment to the people of Portmore to make Portmore a parish. So when you hear the Prime Minister speak about making Portmore the Silicon Valley of Jamaica, that is something that we have been championing. That is something that as a Member of Parliament in Portmore, I support wholeheartedly. In 2019, I spoke about the opportunities for technology and a large technological park right here in Portmore, because technology is the future. So, for example, 3 weeks ago, we had Heart here and other agencies. We had a big fair right here by the Church of God, right here in Gregory Park, that saw over 300 persons coming in to learn about opportunities for skills training, opening bank accounts, getting them registered on the PATH program, getting them access to RGD to get birth certificates and so forth. So those are some of the larger empowerment programs that we've had in place. We've also had Heart coming in as well with constant recruitment drive. So you speak about unemployment. Unemployment in our communities has fallen as well, and it's reflecting the national drop from 12 to 14% 8 years ago to now 4.2%, because we are empowering our young people to get the jobs of today and the jobs of tomorrow. We also have, I was in discussions with Dr. Tufton last week again to further discuss the plans for the new clinic for Gregory Park. I don't want to make any big announcements here, but what I will say is that the future clinic for Gregory Park will see us right there on property or where the Worldwide Church of God. So I've also spoken to Pastor George and Pastor Graham. Up to this week, we were in discussions about the plans for that new clinic for Gregory Park. You know about the Resilience Park on the other side near the mall as well. That is a multi-billion-dollar project. And what it means is that Portmore will have its own let's say we'll have its own sort of Heroes Park or Devon House or the new park in Montego Bay. So those are some of the greater developments for Portmore. When you talk about businesses and commerce, we're looking at the new, you'll see the Greens Lane project that started in January of this year. That is a $930 million project to widen Greens Lane. When you widen Greens Lane, you're talking about taking off 30 to 40 minutes traffic time as well. We're also going to do a multi-million-dollar new entrance to Portmore. So coming from Mandela, coming across Aki Village, you're going to have those fancy wraparound overhead bridges as well. Portmore will have its own entrance, so you don't have to sit on the Mandela with everybody else going to Manchester, Clarendon, and Spanish Town. So you come into Portmore. There's also plans to widen Brayton Parkway as well. You know, so as a government, we believe in the holistic development of communities. All right? So the Prime Minister has also committed to building a hospital in Portmore as well. So again, these are some of the larger developmental plans, not just for East Central or Gregory Park, but for Portmore as a whole, and that will come. And the bigger vision is to have Portmore becoming a parish, because Portmore has outgrown city status. Nobody says, oh, I'm from St. Catherine when you're living in Portmore. You say, I'm from Portmore. We recognize ourselves as citizens of Portmore, and again, big part of the larger developmental plan.
Don't get him started. Give him a hand. Okay, so I have a question here from, somebody who wants to remain anonymous, and it is for ASSCP Michael. What non-policing initiatives specific to Gregory Park are currently in train to further reduce crime? And the person is also making a suggestion of a sports complex, perhaps, some other social programs, and some other community events.
Well, thank you very much. Good question. But naturally, the police will always have to be police. So non-police initiative will have to be working with other stakeholders. And there are indeed initiatives that we are discussing. For example, football being one of them. We have the post there we're planning a proper opening for, and that will come with a number of community-related initiatives. For example, pop-up tents where we work with a number of non-geo agencies and also government agencies, where the kind of service that they offer will be coming into Gregory Park, where persons can have that access right there and then. Right? So the police partner with other agencies to uplift the community. All right? Because we're not just about crime fighting. We have, if you look across the room, you see a number of officers. Most of them are from our community safety and security unit, where they do a lot of the community integrations, community initiatives. So we have to partner with other persons for those non-police kind of initiative for the betterment of the communities.
Thank you very much. And I see somebody else at the mic there. Go ahead.
Good evening, family. I am here. I am happy to see so much police inside here. And it's the first time in 8 years that I will get the opportunity to tell the police thank you.
You're most welcome. I appreciate that very much.
8 years ago when my house was shut up, my wife had 3 gunshots in her body. When the police came, I was so happy when they come, and I helped me to lift my wife outside and put her in the car and take us to the hospital. And I owe the police a great amount of gratitude. Thanks to the police.
Thank you very much, sir.
So that's a really tremendous and positive testimony there.
We really appreciate these kind of feedback. It is something that we have a responsibility to serve and to give quality service. In fact, one of the objectives of the constabulary is to have a minimum of 75% customer satisfaction. And when we have meetings like these, especially our quarterly town hall, we facilitate questions, feedback, and suggestions from our citizens. And we analyze those and respond to your need based on what you highlight, the questions you ask, the suggestion that you make. So we welcome feedback like these, and it will encourage us to ensure that we give you proper service to have satisfied customers at the end of the day.
Thank you very much. Minister will take another question before he leaves. And I have one for you. It's a simple one. When ASSP was talking, he mentioned some names that I really didn't even know that those names exist. Mexico, Gulf, and stuff like that. And I remember, Minister, that you spoke to mindset change. And you say a part of renewing the mind is also intentionally changing the physical environment. Can we then change some of those names, God-forsaken names, which seem to be metaphors for violence?
You know, there is a general belief that I share also, that if we change the names of some of the communities within Jamaica, it will certainly improve the mindset of persons. For example, all these pens, from Tars pen to Christian pen. I mean, pen is something that you use to raise animals. You know, and we have to realize that these are some of the legacies of slavery. You know, even when you talk about when black people moved off of, you know, when our forefathers moved off of these estates, these plantations, and into informal communities, and they just set them up. Again, people don't understand much of these things, but it's a part of the legacies of slavery. But I believe that we need to change it. Christian pen should just be Christian gardens. Tars pen should just be Tars gardens, and anywhere else you have it. You know, I mean, and so I am aware that we have started to change some of these names, because Tars pen, I'm told, has now been changed to Tars gardens and so forth, or Tars meadows. Okay, so where did the pen come from? Ah, okay, so I'm being told the correct name, but that's good that it's the meadows. A meadow sounds much nicer. But it does impact. So there is the name, and then there's also the physical infrastructure. So even here in Gregory Park, I remember meeting with, and why crime and violence, it's so important for us to rid our communities of it. I remember working with NHT. I literally went to NHT years ago when I became member of parliament and spoke to them about doing a housing development in the communities known as Gulf and Mexico. And when we started the development, NHT sent persons in and they were doing the assessment. We developed a citizens cooperative society, and they were taking names to see who are taxpayers and everything else, and you know, and we started the process. You know, we looked at one of the engineers came in and he was looking at it, but then you had crime and violence, and of course NHT cannot put its own employees, etc., at risk as well. And that's why it's always been important. But when people tell you that, oh no, you know, they started the propaganda again, say, oh, them just want to kick we off of the property and in the development, we can't buy the place. Listen, one of the mandates of the National Housing Trust, and this government has demonstrated that when it comes on to building more housing solutions, we have built more housing solutions in the last 8 years than have been built in the last 25 years, because we believe, this is why when you have a prime minister,
don't get him started, no, you know.
When you have a prime minister
don't
like...
get him started, no.
When you have a prime minister like Andrew Holness, who comes from an inner city developing community in Spanish Town, he understands the importance of having suitable homes for all Jamaicans. I tell people all the time, it makes a difference who represents the people, because a prime minister like Andrew Holness, he understands what it means not to have a proper house with proper light and proper running water. And he understands why it is important so that every single home in Jamaica should have proper running water, proper electricity, proper social amenities, so that we can raise our children, not in pens, but in suitable homes and suitable communities. So it is still on the agenda to change these communities. We're not trying to kick anybody off. The housing solution is going to be very affordable, so that persons can move into these wonderful homes. As a father myself of 3 children and raised in an inner city community of Grand Spain, again, I don't want children in Jamaica to be raised. You have to hide behind zinc fence. You have fear on and drum. People going to stereotype you and judge you on the basis of your address. I mean, these are some of the things that come with the sort of poor infrastructure and those things. So again, I must say a big thank you. We heard Brother Sullivan, who is a member here at the Baptist Church, telling the police officers thanks. And I must also tell them thanks again, as I have done, you know, because we are working together when we speak about citizens policing right here in Gregory Park. So we have the new police post right there.
right there at the intersection of Gulf and Cottage Drive to provide greater security for residents. And we've told residents, the police is not here to harass you or to stop your business. The police are here to protect and serve and work with you, because community policing will keep Gregory Park much safer as well.
Thank you so very much, Minister. I think he deserves a hand for that. Yes. And so we have two other persons at the mic. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Desireen Johnson Scott. This question is for the ASP. There was an article in today's Gleaner that spoke about a businessman who captured on CCTV what looked like a crime being committed, men leaving from a crime scene. Now, he shared this video with the police, and now this video is all over social media. Right now, he's receiving threats from people calling from unknown number, threatening him based on that video. Now, what can you say to me that will cause me to trust the police to share when I know information about crime being committed?
It is clear that you have come to the conclusion that the police released the video.
The thing is that it was stated that he shared it with the police. That's all was stated.
All right, but based on how you pose your question, you're saying that it is the police that released it. All right, it is something that I am not aware of the incident to which you speak, so we'll do some investigation around that. But what I will encourage you, if it is that you have recording of crime, there are confidential ways in which you can share it. And we are so concerned about citizen safety that if you share something with us, we're not going to make it become public, because we're mindful of the fact that fingers can be pointed back at you. All right, so I don't want you to draw the inference that it is the police that released that tape, because it might have been shared with many other persons, especially in community groups. All right, but I'm not aware of the specific incident to which you speak, so we will make some inquiries into it.
So Desireen, you could speak with him in camera. Why do they say in camera? That sounds like off camera to me. Yes, you could speak to him privately and give him some further details on that. Go ahead, sir.
Good night. I am Krishna Reynolds from Whatsago.
From where? Okay.
Heard about an incident like last year or so when a girl, a teenager from Lucianova, I think she was abused, and she went to the police to report it. And for what I heard the policeman was accused of abusing her as well.
And the question is, sir?
The question was what will happen.
Oh, but you're talking about Hanover, sir. It's very difficult for them to know which specific case you're talking about now.
It was in Lucianova.
Yes, and we are in Gregory Park, St. Catherine. Hard for ASSP to answer that one as to what really happened. You would have to go do some other investigations there. Right. Because it would be another ASSP responsible for that area.
What I can tell a moderator is that naturally, if there's an allegation made against the police, it will be investigated. We have policies to treat our members, and if they break the law like anyone else, there are consequences. So that matter definitely will be investigated.
And can I ask one more question, please?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
I heard the police talking about drinking and driving. I know it's one of the major causes of accidents, but what about drinking while driving? You don't think that's a part of one of the major causes of accidents too?
It amounts to the same thing. Drinking and driving, drinking while driving, you're not supposed to do either of them. It's the same thing.
Yes.
All right, so you have to ensure that persons who are operating motor vehicles on the road are sober and not putting themselves and other motorists and pedestrians at risk. And that is why you have laws to ensure that people comply. And if you break them, then there are sanctions.
Okay, thank you so very much. We will have to wrap up shortly, and I want to give the panelists another minute or two to do their summation. But I am going to take your question, my dear sister. Not your question, ma'am, that other lady's question.
Good evening, through you, moderator. First and foremost, I want to say something. I have two things to say. One, I really have a debt of gratitude myself to the police. I remember a couple of years ago, coming home one night, reaching my gate, I saw a man across in his car on his phone. I passed my house about 5 times and the man was still there. I'm very security conscious, so I went to the police station and the policeman said, "You go ahead, I'm right behind you." And the police, when the police came along with me, the car moved off. And for the entire night, every turn I turned, I saw the flashing lights. You know, and I must say thank you. Number two, my number 2 concern now, this is a concern I have. Just last week, my neighbor pointed out this young man, he wears a particular uniform. And she said he's in the alley every day. I went out there and tried to engage him, but he would have none of it. What can I do? So I went and I Googled CPFS, and the telephone rang without an answer. Nobody answered the telephone. I called the Gregory Park police. They came on as police, 988-1719. I don't know, that seemed not to work because it is constantly busy. I called 211 or 112, a number I saw in the directory. And a young lady, I got her name, I won't call her name. I got a name for somebody. But she was just so aggressive towards me. I don't know the young man, I don't know his age. And it is a crime on my part because I should know his age. I should know if he's really a student. And I should report it. Where should I report it? Well, this is somewhere where you can report it. I'm reporting it, but that's not enough. So you'll have to go and find out more things. I don't know anything. I know the young man is in the alley every day. He doesn't go to school, and I can't do anything about it. So I'm bringing it now to you, sir, because your telephone don't answer. I thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the commendation for the police. And just my friend who asked about the video, it is not in St. Catherine South, so you can trust your St. Catherine South police. Notwithstanding, we cannot draw an inference that it was released by the police. All right, so by whatever means it gets to the media or wherever, or other persons, we cannot come to a conclusion as to how it got there. But it is not in our division.
Okay, just thank you for the question, miss. I can't defend you calling a number and not getting through. Cannot defend it. Because from time to time, sometimes numbers possibly don't work, depending on the time when you call it. I don't know. But you were doing the right thing. You were supposed to report it, right? Report it either to us or possibly to the police as well. And then we will see what we can do. But of course, the person who gets the information when you call 211, because that's also CPFS emergency number. So when you call that number, by right, they are going to require some information, because the next step would be to activate investigation, right? So then now they would have to know where to go, who are they looking for, right? So I think the system itself that requires us to get into motion or into action, we might have to look at it again, right? Because at the end of the day, you have observed something and you have made the call, right? But for us to get into action, to be spurred into action, there are some basic things that we're going to need. CPFSA, even though you hear the word investigation, we don't have the police kind of powers. Let me put it that way. So our investigators would come primarily to gather information, observation, and if we need assistance to take it further, then that's where we will now contact the police. But you were doing the right thing. Try again. And I can give you my number, 849-1254. So you call. I'm from the St. Catherine office. And that's why I'm giving the number. 849-1254. So you can call my number.
Thank you very much, Mr. Levy.
And that is commendable. We encourage other community members to pay attention to these things and alert the relevant agencies.
Okay, so I'm going to do something kind of different now. Well, it's 7 o'clock, and that was our stop time. So I'm going to ask your permission to go another half hour. Okay, all right. So I'm going to do something different. You've been asking the panelists questions. I'm going to ask you one question now, right? Jamaica is a low trust culture. We have a low trust culture. We don't seem to trust anything that starts with P. We don't trust police. We don't trust pastors. We don't trust preachers. Who else we don't trust that start with? We don't trust politicians. And sometimes we don't trust principals either. And God knows that sometimes we don't trust parents. So I want to hear from you here now. What do you think we can do to rebuild trust in Jamaica? And I'm going to start right here, sir. I'm coming back to you. No, now ask no P.
We have to start from the home. To rebuild the trust in Jamaica, we have to start from the home. When we start trusting our parents to say what they will do, and they does it, then we'll find time to trust the person from the outside.
So the solution is in the home. Excellent response there. Let me come over here and ask my pastor. Oh, he's a P. Me still ask him.
Trust also depends on trustworthiness, so it's two sides. So we, like pastors and others who believe people should trust us, should act in ways which are transparent, which allow ourselves to be trustworthy, because people have too many incidents of persons betraying trust. So that on our part, we have a responsibility to act in ways which are trustworthy, which will inspire the trust of others.
See that? Trust engenders trust. And we have to be consistent in our behavior. And when we exercise that consistency in our behavior, then others will start trusting us. In other words, we have to build our credibility. All right? Let me ask this lady here. What do you think we can do to rebuild trust, particularly in this community?
We have to be more.
Well, I don't always want to hold my mic. No. They teach me in college not to allow you to hold the mic.
Well, all right. We have to exercise more love and patience with each one that we interact with. We have to have love and have to be patient. And when you speak or you tell somebody something, you expect them to trust you and to work on that.
Thank you so very much. What a really very good answer. Love and patience. What say you?
Good evening, everyone. I'm from the Social Development Commission, that's SDC. What say me is that we start within ourselves, learn to trust ourselves, to trust the process, and to be patient while trusting the process.
You see, we have the answers among us. We do have the answers among us. We just start having to work together because we have the solutions to the problems in our community. Oh, how about you? She said no. What about you?
I just think that people need to provide evidence that we can trust them. So we need to hear less of these stories that indicates or engender distrust. So similar to the story that was in the paper today, we need to hear less of those.
Okay, all right. So it goes back to credibility in action, right? Okay, I seem to be asking a lot of women. So here's a gentleman here. Look like him yawning and he want to go sleep. But
Good evening. I call it self-trust. Once you trust yourself and carry yourself in a dignified way, persons will see that there's some difference in you, and whenever there's an issue or something confidential, they will come and speak to you.
Okay, all right. All right. Same consistency in action, consistency in communication. I don't hear anybody say anything about sometimes we have to be vulnerable to each other too. Sometimes we're really going around with this self-preservation business, defending ourselves, protecting ourselves, and we have to open up to start building relationships. And when I start understanding you and you start understanding me, then trust is festering.
I think because you have a lot of teenage pregnancy, when they visit the clinic, we need someone to go in there and lecture them, give them good advice, how think positive that the child can develop with love. Even if you got that child pregnant in bitterness, growing up that child in love can make a big difference in the world, and that is parenting.
Okay, so children need to be nurtured in a loving and caring environment. Yes, we have been hearing that. So I'm coming right back to you now because, you quarrel with me before me leave you, sir. And listen, I'm holding my mic, all right?
Too pretty. Anyway, let me say, they're going to build up the community, who's going to bring them? Chinese, Indian, and all kinds of jackass instead of us?
Remember, it's church you're in, so careful with the language.
You know what I'm saying, ma'am? Because we are looked on as squatters and all kind of things. And when we tell the children about big house, they come at the people them house and say, you live a big house and me can't get by you. We need to stop it. Let them know that we all can go together and feel pick your mind and mine and yours. Please, for heaven's sake, everybody see a child, talk to him how him sweet and nice. Build him up and make him feel good, whether you're police or not. That's what we need. Because when we do that, then the society is going to see themselves as a light of the world. And let me say, lift up your head, your children of Jamaica. Lift up your head, descendants of Africa. Shine out, write out, live up, stand up, and work for yourself. Don't depend on others. Depend on yourself. Be holy, responsible, and I love you all.
You see why I leave her for last? Such a profound statement. Okay, so we get back to our panelists now, and you have a minute or two. You know what a minute or two means, right? You can answer the question I just asked and add your closing statement to that. You can do that in 2 minutes. What does it take to rebuild trust in this society? But you don't have to answer that question. You can do your own summation.
All right, so thank you very much. All right, so I think I want to go my own question and my response. The lady, Grandma, earlier she spoke about going back to those good old days. The truth is, friends, we cannot go back to those good old days. And let me there are some things that we can learn from it and take it going forward. But I said to a group of persons just the other day when I went to make a presentation at a school, I said to them that if the law, the Child Care and Protection Act was in place, when my parents was around growing us, they would have been charged. Because the idea, we hear it comes out at the barber shop. They want to beat out something out of you. So they want to use any kinds of weapons. We don't call it weapons. You get beaten with hose, you get beaten with fan belt, you get beaten with iron card, radio card, a lot of kind of stuff. Those things were abused. So I am saying to us, and I'm saying to our parents, we have got to change the way we think of disciplining our children. We have to change it. One of the things that we find work very well is to engage them in talking to them. Why do you? Because I used to get beaten for things I'm trying to remember what I was getting beaten for. I don't know what I did. I don't remember, but I was getting the beating, and then I would hear, you remember when you do last week? And I'm trying to figure last week. You remember when you do last month? And I'm saying last month? I don't know. I am saying, change your way of how you parent and how you discipline. Engage your children. It doesn't matter how small they are. Engage them. And you can get the answers many times from them.
That's me. So it was a good evening. I want to thank the church again for this opportunity. Parenting is a lifelong process, and it's always evolving. How we treat each individual child makes a difference, and how you look at yourself as a person will determine how you facilitate a child or a family or other persons. My view is that we just need to know how to treat each other with respect, with love, and with a little courtesy.
All right. Moderator asked a question about how we can bring back trust, and I jot down 4 points. Communicate openly and honestly. All right, you must be a person that is committed to your words. Whatever you tell someone, you must stand by that. We build trust through sustained relationship. These kind of engagement, as I mentioned while I was speaking, if you see me for the first time, you're not going to trust me. We have to have this kind of engagement and interaction. We try to build trust even with the police and the community by having that community integration where you're seen interacting with the police almost on a daily basis. So when you're seen talking to the police, you're not stigmatized. You're not called an informer, because it is the norm to see you interacting with the police. And over time, that trust will develop. And allow systems to work. All right? Allow systems to work. One other thing I talk about, commitment and trust. For example, a member of the community may confide in me to share something with me. He or she is going to watch to see how I will treat with that. Whether I will act in a way to jeopardize, as the question my friend asks about the video being released, or I will treat the matter in a way that is so confidential and professional that no one will be able to point fingers. All right, so over time, that level of confidence and trust will be developed and will be allowed to flourish. I just want to leave with you in closing before my other member of the panel answer. There's a new number for the Caymanas police station, and you can ask me to repeat if you don't get it. It is 224-1909. That's 224-1909. And the number for yours truly is 564-2865. That's 564-2865. Thanks. All right, my number is 564-2865, and the number for the Caymanas police station is 224-1909.
I too am thanking Reverend Henlin and the church community and Gregory Park community for inviting me here. To develop trust, one will have to observe, listen, empathize, show compassion. For that to happen, respect each other's opinion and love. Just would like to inform the Gregory Park community that the Portmore Ministers Fraternal intends to have a youth rally, a health fair next year, February, late February to March. We are in dialogue with the principal of the Gregory Park All-Age School to have that happening, so we'll inform the stakeholders, because we believe it's in investing in our youth and the communities that will bring about a change in how we move forward. Amen? We don't use that word since day. Amen. Bless you.
Thank you so much, all of you, Pastor Morrison, the SSP, Michael, Mr. Devon Levy, and Principal Richard. Thank you all for coming and for sharing your thoughts. It doesn't end here. This is just the beginning of a dialogue which I think our pastor is going to continue, and we want some takeaways from here. And one of the ones that I hear very popular is a willingness to work with each other, to work with one another. The church has started a dialogue, and the church expects that community members, police, pastor, principal, every politician will work together. In other words, we have to cross those kinds of social divide, those political divides, and even denominational divide, and simply come together in the interest of preserving our communities and in the interest of our future, in the interest of our children. Empathy, tolerance, love, and respect for diversity is what I'm hearing. And that's not a collective action. Each person has to decide, I am going to make an effort to make the change. No, not next week, not tomorrow. And it starts with the soft answer approach. We don't always have to be protecting ego. We don't always have to be fight back. We don't always have to be in this nah take our lick, nah take our cuss out mode. Somewhere along the other line, we need to adopt that soft answer approach. And I think the minister summed it up when he said we need a change of mindset. And those of us who go to church, we know what Paul said: do not be conformed, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's not in the gun, it's not in the machete, it's not in the cuss words, it is in our minds. So each of us here will have to make a pledge that we are going to do some things differently as of this evening. And I am hoping that the pastor will mobilize from this a team, a working group that will continue to implement some of the social, or maybe I should say socio-spiritual action that it is going to take to make that mindset change. So I want to thank you all for coming. My sister gave me a long list of something and insists that I have to call out all of them. Let me see how I can put them in groups. So I want to thank, I didn't see him. Was it His Worship the Mayor here? No. Okay, I didn't see Mr. Raymond Price either. I didn't see the counselor so I can drop that group there. The Gregory Park Primary School PTA representatives, they were here. Give them a hand for coming. The principal for the Hamilton Gardens Basic School and the Tax Nursery, they were here as well. The Social Justice Division of the Ministry of Justice, and all the churches in the Gregory Park community. St. Francis, Gregory Park New Testament, Straightway Gospel, Gregory Park Seventh-day Adventist, Worldwide Church of God, Gregory Park Church of God of Prophecy, Agape Christian Fellowship, Jamaica Free Baptist, Gregory Park Brethren, Cedar Group, so many churches in here, Bible Truth Healing and Deliverance, Agape Word of God Ministry, Trinity Methodist, Bethel Gospel Assembly, God Tidings, Faith Pentecostal, and all the citizens associations. Thank you for coming. Cedar Grove, Cedar Manor, Hamilton Garden, Christian Meadows, Phoenix Vista, and Christian Garden Citizens Association. Justice of the Peace, Mr. Delroy Dobney, Mrs. Claire Bennett, and Mr. Sean Burrows. The Christian Penn Health Center and the Nurse Cameron. Heart NSTA Trust, and Mr. Wayne Batiste and Miss Michelle Morgan. Social Development Commission, Mrs. Latoya Bailey McFarlane, and the Center for Investigation of Sexual Offenses and Child Abuse, Sissoko. And representing Sissoko, we had Detective Sergeant Cecina Makala. Thank you very much, Detective Sergeant, for coming and staying the course. Thank you all. Bless you all. I am going to hand over to Pastor. Yeah.
And thanks to our indefatigable, is that the word? Moderator, Sister Dorothy Campbell. Let's put our hands together for her. I have to say that Mr. Raymond Price's absence is due to him being advised of this event too suddenly. He only just got the notice a few days ago, and that is why he's not here today. Let's stand together as we bring this to a close. Thanks to the committee led by Sister Janelle Williams who planned this event. Thank you all members of the committee for your hard work. Thank you panelists for coming today. Pastor Campbell, great to see you, Bishop Campbell, here with us. Are you able to offer us a brief closing prayer? Bishop, come. A brief closing prayer.
Can we all bow our heads before God in reverence? Heavenly Father and our God, we thank you, God, for what has been said tonight, Lord. We pray, mighty God, that you will help us, Lord, that we will fulfill, Lord God, that which you have commanded, that we will see a better society. Lord, let it be started within me tonight, God. I pray, mighty God, and even as we go, Lord, we will meditate of how we can turn Jamaica, not for the worse, but for the good. Thank you, God, for hearing us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Jamaica is now under tropical storm warning officially. So make your way home safely, and thank you again for coming. Refreshments are available upstairs for everybody. For everybody. Refreshments on the second floor for everyone.